Thank you everyone for joining us today, and anyone who was supposed to be in the December talk. I had some holiday stuff come up, so unfortunately I had to reschedule for this day. So thank you for your flexibility as well. And as Samantha said, I'm a field office archaeologist for the Pahrump field office. And so I'll just turn off my camera while I share everything with you, just so it doesn't get stuck or any lag takes place. So just bear with me here while I load everything up. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the talk about today is basically this project that I worked on as a student at UNLV. So it was a semester-long class dealing with digital archaeology, and StoryMaps basically helps us have an approach where we're able to kind of break the barriers of academia and help for public outreach and to share this with the public as well. So the introduction. So the research area for this project is located in Brownstone Canyon of Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area. This area is on public lands managed by the Bureau of Land Management. The pre-contact occupation was by Great Basin Hunter-Foragers, the Virgin Branch Puebloan, Patayan, and the Southern Paiute. Its use spans from the late Archaic period to Euro-American contact. And despite the archaeological significance, we are limited in our understanding of this area, as our research only comes from a few researchers, Shuttler and Shuttler, who focused on documenting the features and artifacts, and Rafferty and Meyer, who suggested the area was being used seasonally by small groups of foragers over time for agave exploitation and roasting. So during a semester-long seminar, I developed a geodatabase to investigate pathways of entry to Brownstone Canyon and to map the distribution of agave and roasting pits. So essentially, I was trying to see if we could infer what pre-contact ethnic groups were coming into this area to utilize it. In turn, a story map was created to share these findings, targeting both academics and general public. Although the results of the study were inconclusive, this experience allowed for an understanding of how this tool and methodology can be used by researchers and land managers for targeted goals. The shareability of using a story map can help reach broader audiences than a research paper or oral presentation, which helps fulfill the mission of public archaeology. So this paper starts with a background of the archaeology of the area. We're going to cover the benefits and limitations of using a story map. I'll define what a story map is halfway through. And I'm going to explain how the creative and design process works and looks like using the story map that I speak of. So let me just go into the background of the area. So Brownstone Canyon is located in the La Madre mountain range of the Spring Mountains in the Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area. Like I said, it's on public lands and it's about 15 miles west of Las Vegas, Nevada. It's situated where the Mojave Desert meets the Great Basin in a pinyon woodland subzone. Elevations range from 4,000 to 7,000 feet. And it is a rain shadow desert that collects 7 to 12 inches of rainfall annually. Calico Springs and Red Springs are the nearest water sources, which are just a few miles from the Brownstone Canyon range. Some of the biota include agave, prickly pear, barrel cactus, desert trumpet, bighorn sheep, rabbits, and other rodents. And I'm just curious, can they raise their hand, Samantha, to answer a question or no?
They should be able to. I think I kept those in there.
Yeah, so I was just curious, by a show of hands, how many people have been to Brownstone Canyon? Okay, so I think I see one. Okay, that's amazing. All right, so let me continue. So our archaeological history of the site, or the area of these sites, is limited to surveys and a field school. So as I mentioned, Shuttler and Shuttler were one of the earliest researchers, and they record the first 18 sites. And also they're responsible for choosing the name, which was inspired by the brown rocks found at the canyon's mouth. It would be later recognized by Rafferty and Rolfe in 1981 that this is an archaeological district. And that's a term we use in federal archaeology. And what it means is that it's a cluster of sites that make up this huge area. Then in 1982, Rafferty nominated Brownstone Canyon to be on the National Register. And this was due to this multi-component use that spanned from pre-contact through historic periods. So the pre-contact period, the archaeological sites that are recorded are roasting pits, bedrock milling equipment, which I'll show you a photo of, rock writings, lithic scatters, and rock shelters. The historic period is 2 civilian conservation corps dams that were installed. Okay, so the roasting pits that are found there. So the roasting pits, and these images here are kind of the byproduct of a roasting pit. So these white stones, this is all limestone. And so after the firing process, they turn white. And then also by the charcoal dirt there, these are usually circular as well. So, but that's how you can kind of identify these roasting pits. And so what was roasted is the agave Utahensis nevadaensis, which is the native agave to southern Nevada, and it's also in Brownstone Canyon. So the roasting pit is, I'll show you this profile view of it, but basically it was a cooking facility. So agave would be cooked, but also animals and all kinds of different plants as well. And so for agave, it was used as a food source, but it was also used for utilitarian purposes, which included to make cordage, sandals, and meal brushes, as well as hair brushes. And so this is the agave that's native to southern Nevada and to Brownstone. It's no more than 2 feet tall. So you can kind of just imagine, since they are so small, it depends how many people you would be cooking for. So you might have to gather anywhere from like 20 of these and then dig up a roasting pit to cook them in. And so also what they would use for fuel is juniper or pinyon, and juniper is a better wood. It also lasts longer. Both of these, because this is a juniper pinyon zone, so both of these were right there on the spot as well. So the visitors to the area essentially could pack light because everything was right there within reach. Their fuel was there, the limestone, the agave, and whatever wildlife or other plants that would be cooked. So with the milling cupules, they're right here, and this is in Brownstone Canyon as well. So these, there haven't been much research done on them. So what is inferred is that they were used for the pigment for the rock writing, but also juniper would be crushed as well. And since the juniper is in the region, that is also something that it could have been used for. And though we don't have evidence in southern Nevada, but in Southern California, these cupules were often associated with fertility rituals. And so this is a profile of the cooking facility. So the roasting pit that I speak of. So this is from Thom's work, and these are his pictures. But so we have 2 different kind of cooking facilities. So A is the one that we commonly find in southern Nevada, but B is also a possibility. So the difference is you dig up a big enough hole to put the agave in. You would line it with your limestone. Depending on the cultures, they either used packing material such as grasses or leaves, or they could omit that and just put the agave straight in. Also, they could have also been using cooking vessels as well. So it just depends on different traditions. So there are a lot of different ways to go about this. And then this would be closed with an earthen cap. And so it takes about 2 to 3 days for this to roast underground. With the steaming method, you just leave a small opening and you would just periodically pour water, and then it would just steam. So it's just different cooking styles. The occupation, I think I did go over that. So it's spanning from the late Archaic period and then all the way into post-contact. And then we also have that historic period as well. So now that I covered some of that background of this research area and what's found here, so I'm going to go into the reasons for this story map. And so, although Brownstone Canyon is archaeologically significant, our understanding of this area is limited. So, the need for interpretation has been voiced since the 1990s. And additionally, there's also ethical concerns because there's an expansion of residential complexes on Howard Hughes land, which borders Brownstone Canyon. So it poses a risk for data loss, looting, and negative human impacts to this archaeological area. And so the solution that I adopted was I wanted to fill this research gap because so little has been done in this specific area. And so I thought, well, this would be a nice, innovative way to present this research where the story map comes in, and I can share this with academics and also the general public, and it can be used for land management. So all this talk about a story map. So a story map can be defined as a web-based application that permits users to combine multimedia for creating an interactive narrative. So essentially think of it as like a website, but like you're able to add like all these interactive and map features into it. And it's usually utilized for research purposes. So it can be used to engage stakeholders, highlight projects, advocate a cause, or simply just to communicate information. And it doesn't have to necessarily be mapped data in the cartography sense. It can also be used without maps. And my story map, as you will see here in a minute, it kind of uses both. So the benefits of the story map is it has tremendous value for delivering research and has creative possibilities that extend beyond the software's prompts. The former presentation can reach a broader audience and it can be viewed anytime. So it's not limited to the confines of like, such as this talk. You can just view it on your own time. It allows for infinite project as well because it has the ability to add and edit the story map. So as I gather additional data or find out more about the research area, I can also embed those edits in real time and update whoever's viewing that. And the great thing is it requires minimal skill set. So I'm not like savvy with any of this like computer design. So it's pretty straightforward and just requires a short training. And then after that, the creator's ready to design. Let's see. So, and it's also cost effective. So like if anyone on the call, if you use Esri or ArcGIS Pro, it already comes with that licensing package. So it's just an added bonus as well. So now we'll go into the story map case study. And then here is where I'm going to share this link. So feel free if you want to follow along, it may be easier. There's the link to the story map. And so the story map is titled Interpreting Brownstone Canyon with the Use of GIS. And so I'll kind of go into how I designed this and the features and how it all works to share this information. So there are 4 key features. So there's the text box, swipe, sidecar, and map tour. And then I'll just kind of go into each section. So the text box is pretty straightforward. It's just, it literally is just text of information that you embed in the story map. And so like this example I used here, I'm just going into the background, which I covered with you guys already here. And then what I was able to do on my own accord is I added hyperlinks for specific key terms that if you click on it, it basically sends you to another web page, and then you're able to gather more information than I was able to embed here in the story map. And so with the swipe feature, this is really cool. So I'm in PowerPoint, so I can't demonstrate it. But if you're on this section of the story map, you basically just move those arrows and it kind of compares and contrasts these maps that I provided. And so the 2 examples here, the one on the right is a map of the United States. and it compares it to known indigenous territories that overlap it. So as you move the arrows, you're able to see what indigenous territory that you're on. And then this one I thought was neat, the map of Las Vegas, because you're able to kind of see how the city grew over time, and then also prior to archaeological laws. And so a lot of our data loss comes from building a city and then prior to any of those protection laws as well. So there might be some areas that were not recorded prior to the building. And then the sidecar is really neat. So the way that this works, if you're following along, is as you continually scroll, this is an immersive text block along with media, and it's kind of like a floating panel. So as you keep scrolling, the text is changing as well as the image. So it just kind of like takes you on this tour of these are all basically archaeological data that I used to see if I could come up with a pathway to Brownstone Canyon. And then let's see, what was the last one is the map tour that I used. And so this kind of takes you on a guided tour of 3 different areas. So we have the Spring Mountains, which is where Brownstone Canyon is. Then we have the Sheep Range up above number 2. That's another agave and roasting pit area. And then number 3 is the Virgin Mountains in Gold Butte. Okay, so my reflection, so the project, it was my first time ever doing the StoryMap. So looking back at it, there would be a few things that I would do differently that time necessarily did not allow, because it was just during the course of a class. So I really wish I could have focused more just solely on Brownstone Canyon, but since I tried to answer the question of how were people, like the movement of people and who was coming into Brownstone, it was kind of like a catch-22. I couldn't exactly just hone it in on one area. And then I would have liked to add like a 360 video tour. So for anyone who cannot access Brownstone Canyon, because it is a little bit hard to access, especially because it borders that private land, that Howard Hughes land, it would be nice for the user that that's coming on digitally to be able to kind of be immersive and feel like they're there and see what that looks like. And I would have embedded wildlife audio as well for the native songbirds in the area. Okay, so my future work is I'd like to create the geodatabase for Brownstone Canyon so I can do additional spatial analyzing of land use. And then also I'm trying to do more spatial analysis with Brownstone Canyon, comparing it to the Sheep Range and the Virgin Mountains to kind of see was that land used similarly when it comes to relation of the roasting pits. So overall, the expectation of using a story map is to provide an interactive way to share findings outside of the traditional realm of a published paper. Public archaeology is on the rise, and a story map leaves room to share knowledge outside of the academic realm. Moreover, a story map may also help motivate the public to help in the protection of cultural resources integrity and give the public an opportunity to share in its heritage. And I had a really amazing opportunity and experience with my story map because I shared it with Rayette Martin with Nevadans for Cultural Preservation. And so she disseminated it with the volunteers and the site stewards, and I was invited to go to a hike with them to Brownstone Canyon. It was just really nice to talk about my research and have the site stewards and volunteers also share their input of like their favorite part about Brownstone and point things out that necessarily I didn't see during my visits there. So it was really nice. So with that, I think this is a cost-effective way to have site interpretation that can be shared with the general public. And in the near future, I hope to do a story map of my area in the federal realm with BLM. I'd like to do one on the Old Spanish Trail. So hopefully I get some time to do that. So stay tuned for that because I would love to share that with everyone as well down the line. And that's all I have for you. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us today and coming to this talk. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them as well.
No.
There are no questions. I do want to provide an update though, because I know I mentioned in the talk that interpretation has been voiced for some time now, and there really hasn't been any research aside from this that I'm doing here. But the great news is we're going to be doing an ethnographic study of Red Rock Canyon, which includes Brownstone Canyon. So it's going to be really fascinating to work and collaborate with the tribes and just gather more insight on how this area was used. I love it. I love the shareability of it, because it's like even with Brownstone Canyon, since it's so remote and hard to reach, and then we have other areas too, like Gold Butte is like way out there too, that it really provides people that don't have the accessibility to get there to be able to experience it at home or at their fingertips. So I love that portion of it as well.
So, do you need special? Does StoryMap use special software?
So it's all through licensing. So it's through Esri, which is like the company, I guess, if you will. And what they have ArcGIS, which is a common software that archaeologists, but other specialties use as well. It's this mapping software where you can just run your data or like put in your points and whatnot. You manipulate maps. So with that licensing is the StoryMap. And I guess the best way I can describe what that layout looks like as a creator is it's kind of like web design sort of, except it's like really user friendly. So it gives you the options of those selections that I went through, such as like the sidecar or like the text box. So you kind of just you plan it all out. You can like create an outline or just like it'll guide you through. And so like you select, okay, I want the text box here, or like I want to put my map here, and so on. So it requires like minimal training, and it's more about like your creative freedom, and you can just go crazy with it and just do whatever you want. So yeah, I guess to answer that question, you just need that licensing for Esri, and then that's embedded with the licensing. But there are free versions, though. I've heard. Samantha, do you know the names? I know we have like the QGIS, but I don't think they have a StoryMap.
Oh no, but Esri, if you're interested in Esri and you want to get involved with that, it's I think the private version is $100, but I don't know for a year, but I don't know if that includes StoryMaps or not. So I can actually look around and look at that and see what they are. So, but your next question is it easy to use StoryMaps, and do you need an IT background?
Oh, not at all, because I don't have any IT or computer science background. So it's like a 30-minute training where they pretty much just provide, it's like a website training, if you will. So you're just kind of scrolling down through these examples of like what you can do with it and kind of like the go by of how you do it. And then you kind of just go into like the creator portal of it. And like I was saying, you just you'll kind of pick and choose where you want your text box and your map. And then like if I'm doing the what is it called? Gosh, it slipped my mind. Not this, like the sidebar or like the sliding panel, you would embed those maps in there yourself. So it's kind of like it gives you the layout of it, but then like you still upload your data or the images or maps that you want to use. So yeah, like Samantha was saying, I guess there's like $100 version. If anyone is enrolled in like a university, you're able to get free access as a student. You might be able to have license accessibility through the library. Trying to think how else you could get on there. I think they have like a 30-day free trial as well, that you're able to access it that way. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, well, if anybody does have any questions about GIS and you want to get in touch with Zena, or you want to ask me questions about it, because I do know a little bit about it, but I don't know the story map part of it, but I can set you up with the right setup for trying to give that a go. But feel free to contact me afterwards, or Rayette, but either of us could put you in touch with Zena, and could give you some support on that. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming and giving your talk here. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for coming tonight and listening to my talk. I really appreciate it. And yeah, like Samantha said, if you have any questions even down the line, you can get in contact with me through Samantha, or I'll answer any questions you have. Yeah, but thank you again, Samantha, for inviting me.